to tone down.
How's everybody doing today? This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks, here to have a discussion about Donald Trump. So we got Donald Trump, and I don't know if you guys understood what you were looking at with that mugshot. You were looking at the first former president to ever take a mugshot, which means the kind of shot you take when you're being accused of a crime, when you in custody, clink clink. Let me say it again. Trump becomes the first former president to take a mugshot. I got my issues with Obama. Could you imagine if Obama had a mugshot? Huh. I got my issues with Barack Obama and gig work and a number of other things. But could you imagine if Obama took a mugshot? Huh. How that would project not on black folks, particularly on ADOS. Breaking news: for the first time in 4 indictments, law enforcement took a mugshot of Donald Trump as he was being booked at the Fulton County Jail on charges he broke state laws with his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. So, what's this show? What is this show? What are we talking about today? We're going to talk a little bit about a little whiteness, a little white maleness, but we're going to frame what is it he's being charged with? Because all I know is he just did a bunch of crimes. Well, let's break those crimes down. We're also going to ask the question: can somebody run for president from prison? Can you run for president from prison? You can't even get no job at Chick-fil-A with no prison charges. Oh, God. To my understanding, I did everything right and they indicted me. Trump surrenders at Atlanta jail in Georgia election interference case. Woo-wee. Now, this is an AI picture. This is an actual picture, so don't go sharing that. The only actual picture we have is that mugshot. This man looked menacing. I wouldn't want to see him in a dark alley. Can we get to it? So let's break down what he's being accused of. Before I do that, 310-388-3499, 310-388-3499. Support the channel. I need you guys to understand that to bring these shows, I need support. I need you guys to financially support this channel, support it with energy, support it by sharing the shows. My tonetalks.net website, you can donate there, or you can go on Patreon and donate. Please, and also Super Chat, you can donate here. Up to you how you want to donate. Please support the channel. Show your support. So let's break down all of the charges, so we all are more clear than everyone else in America. It's not just one charge. He has 91 charges. How many people in the chat knew that Donald Trump was facing 91 charges? Breaking down the charges Trump faces in his 4 indictments. Former President Donald Trump faces a total of 91 charges across 4 criminal cases. They include 44 federal charges and 47 state charges, all of them felonies. So for those people that might not know what felony means, there's 3 levels of crime. There's the infraction, which doesn't carry any jail or prison. There's the misdemeanor, which carries up to a year of jail, which is where you go before you go to prison. And then there's felonies, which carries over a year. Now that's simplifying it, but just so you can basically understand, just the word felony means he in the serious phase. They include 44 federal charges and 47 state charges, all of them felonies. Can we talk about it? How many people knew that it was 91 charges? See, my point of this show is to inform y'all, so when you go out, you know more than what everybody else is talking. This is how it breaks down. 4 for the January 6th election case, 40 for the classified documents case. You got this, and those are the federal charges. So 44 federal charges, 34 for the New York falsifying business records case, and 13 on the Georgia 2020 election case. You have to know this stuff. We got to get informed. Support my channel, because I'm doing it like nobody else. Everybody else is talking about Gigi Magaga. They talking about Beyonce concert, Taylor Swift concert. We talking about real stuff. Politics. The politics. So 13 charges in the Georgia election interference case. The most severe federal counts are those related to obstruction. The most severe federal counts are those related to obstruction, which is punishable by up to 20 years of imprisonment. Defendants, however, rarely receive the maximum sentence, and it is uncertain if Trump would be incarcerated even if he were found guilty in any of these cases. Here's a breakdown of the charges. So we're looking at the first set. And when I say set, we're going to go through all four sets. We're going to go through the January 6th, the classified documents, the New York falsified business records, and also the Georgia 2020 election case. So we're starting at the Georgia 2020 election case because that's the most serious. He has 1 racketeering, 4 soliciting or impersonating a public officer, and 8 counts regarding forgery or false statements. The most sweeping charge in this case is Trump's alleged violation of Georgia's powerful anti-racketeering law. This law allows prosecutors to charge a large group of people. You seen all them people standing up there together? All them white folks holding hands? Giuliani, it was a bunch of them holding hands, nervous. Don't be feeling for them. They lived a good life while Trump was president. I need y'all to see it. I need you to see what we're talking about today. Thank you so much for starting it off, Lock Vegas. Please support the channel. Please call in 310-388-3499. The indictment says Trump and others were part of a criminal enterprise that refused to accept his election loss and conspired to change the outcome. Separate counts of soliciting or impersonating a public officer refer to attempts by Trump and co-defendants to pressure officials to find ways to change the results, mainly by peddling false claims about voter fraud. The remaining counts, forgery, false statements, and false documents, involve the plot to appoint fake electors, as well as the bevy of false voter fraud claims Trump and others made as they allegedly tried to subvert the election. So that's the 13 Georgia charges. You got 4 charges in the January 6th case. 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government, 1 count of conspiracy against civil rights, 2 counts of obstruction. Again, this is all Washington Post. Federal prosecutors are investigating the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol and efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. For those people that just came in, what we're doing today is an informed discussion about what is Trump facing, because it just looks like a blob. I want to break that out. Then I want to ask and answer the question, can a man run for president, or for that matter, become president from prison? See, when black men was in prison, it was a big old thing. Now, what happens when the president in prison? Because right now, we got a former president with a mugshot. Do we understand what that means? Jesus. Lord. The man said, I did everything right. We got 91 charges against you, though. They got to prove them, but they got 91. Thank you so much, Patrick, for the support. If you add a question in your super chat, I'll try to get to it, as long as it's respectful. Conspiracy is a broad legal term, meaning 2 or more people plotted to break the law and then took steps to do so. Conspiracy might not have to be a conspiracy does not have to be successful to amount to a crime. In this case, Trump and a group of alleged co-conspirators, unnamed but many identifiable through prosecutors' descriptions, are accused of scheming to reverse the election results and keep Trump in power. The 3 conspiracy counts related to the myriad ways they allegedly tried to accomplish that goal. The 4th count, attempted to obstruct an official proceeding, arises from Trump's attempt to stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden's win. Thank you so much for the support, Princess. Thank you, James. Today's politics are a reality show. You got Hunter Biden on the other side. We cannot take this seriously, but it don't balance out. It don't balance out. Let's just deal with Trump today, though. 40 charges in the classified documents cases. So 32 charges of willful retention of national defense information. That's when he had the documents at Mar-a-Lago under his, he had it in his locker, in his golf locker, wherever they found it. They found it under his desk in the back. All the secret security codes related to obstruction. He has 6 charges, withholding or altering documents, and 2 are false statements. I guess that's when he misrepresented whether he had the documents. Whew. We talking today. Hmm. What do these charges mean? Each of the first 32 counts relates to a different classified document that prosecutors say Trump allegedly kept after he left the White House. So there's 32 documents. That's what we can surmise from this. Some of the documents contain military intelligence and other sensitive information that could harm national security if exposed, according to prosecutors. The other charges involve Trump's alleged attempts to hide the documents from investigators and delete Mar-a-Lago security footage. So there's 40 of those. So we went through 13 in Georgia, state level. We went through 4 federal January 6th charges. We went through 40 classified documents charges, federal, and now we got the New York charges, I believe. I'm sorry, we're not finished. 34 charges in the falsifying business records. Yeah, this is the New York charges. Each represents an alleged misclassified campaign expense. The Manhattan District Attorney charged Trump with falsifying business records in connection with hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 election. What do these charges mean? These are essentially bookkeeping charges. Each involves a separate instance in which prosecutors allege that Trump misclassified campaign expenses as legal expenses. Falsifying business records is a misdemeanor in New York, but can be charged as a felony when prosecutors, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you, Ms. Teach. Let's talk about it. When prosecutors believe there's an intent to defraud. So they believe not only did he do it, but he intended to do it to defraud. That includes an intent to commit another crime or aid or conceal it. Woo-wee! He got the clank clanks on. They got him in the jumpsuit. Again, this is not a real picture. This is an artificial picture, but you start to see and ask the question, why should this man that's geriatric in age, old just like Biden is, far too past age in my view, to be running for our president of America, be able to run with these kind of crimes facing against him, let alone the moral issues he's faced around him? Because we let him. Huh? So the question that I pose is, so can real Donald Trump get elected president again and also be sentenced to 50 years and put in jail with black men taken out of ghettos across America? Question mark. Trump could face a maximum of 55 years in prison if convicted on all charges in January 6th case. Call in, let me know what you think. Could he go to prison and be president? Can you fail and succeed? Can you get elected? Is that the power of white maleness where you could get elected while you facing 91 charges? I want to talk. I ain't going to keep you long, but I'm going to keep you right. They got the mugshot of former President Donald Trump in Georgia, looking like he about to get you. You can put his face right next to Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and this man. Imagine you sleep and this man pop up while you sleep. Make me nervous. He looked like that dude that was on Ghostbusters that had the horse feet. Remember him? Nightmare Boogie Man. I want to talk about it. He looked pissed though, I'll tell you that. Yeah, you innocent till you proven guilty. But if you got 91 charges, Jesus. So this is the other part. So we've done the first part. That's digging in the dirt and getting the earthworms, where we lay out. Come on, stop giggling about this man's face. Where we lay out what the charges are. Now we have to ask the question. We got almost 500 people together talking about this politics. This ain't Lizzo or Beyonce or Jay-Z or Diddy or the WWF or the NBA. This is a political discussion in the middle of the day where we as Americans, particularly as American descendants of slavery, are getting together to get educated on what our former president has been up to. Because we don't just want to hear from CNN where they just kind of just blurb it. We want it broken down. What are the charges? And can he still run for president? Why can he still run for president? What are the constitutional issues? I want to talk today. The U.S. Constitution explains how a president can be removed from office for high crimes and misdemeanors by Congress using the impeachment process. But the Constitution is silent on whether a president can face criminal prosecution in court, and the U.S. Supreme Court has not directly addressed the question. So now you see the impact of Obama not getting to select that justice, come on, that was supposed to be picked, that Ruth Ginsburg left, waited until Hillary Clinton. Now you see the impact of Obama not pushing his justice through when he needed to. Because if they got I think it's a 6-3 split, where do you think it's going to fall? Where do you think a conservative set of justices is going to fall? I want to talk about it. The question looms large with special counsel Robert Mueller preparing a report on his investigation into Russia's role in the 2016 US election, whether President Donald Trump's campaign conspired with Moscow and whether Trump unlawfully sought to obstruct the probe. The US Department of Justice has a decades-old policy that a sitting president cannot be indicted, indicating that criminal charges against Trump would be unlikely, according to legal experts. Here is an explanation of the rationale behind the Justice Department policy and whether it applies to Mueller. So they were looking at this with Mueller, but it applies now because he's a former president, but he's a former president that's going to run again, that is running now, that could get elected while he actually gets prosecuted. How are we going to unpack this? I might not get many calls because you guys are just listening, and that's perfectly fine. What is the Justice Department policy? In 1973, in the midst of the Watergate scandal engulfing President Richard Nixon, the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel adopted in an internal memo the position that a sitting president cannot be indicted. Nixon resigned in 74 with the House of Representatives moving towards impeaching him. The spectacle of an indicted president still trying to serve as chief executive boggles the imagination, the memo stated. Well, it don't anymore. It don't anymore. While he's not sitting, he's just former, and not a long time ago. And he's still running right now. Front running. He's front running without even being on the debate stage. I want y'all to see it. I want y'all to see it. Can we talk? I want to talk about it because I want to get into this discussion. I think that part of the reason I want to do this discussion is a lot of y'all not educated to be having the views you have. You don't know whether he can or not. You just say it. You just, he could be president. Why? He can't be president. I'm no president. Look. I want to know why. I want to know the legality behind it. And I want you to know it. So you can stop talking about what you think and start talking about what you know. Ooh, man. I need to talk about it. The department reaffirmed the policy in 2000 in the 2000 memo, saying courts' decisions in the intervening years had not changed its conclusion that a sitting president is constitutionally immune from indictment and criminal prosecution. It concluded that criminal charges against a president would violate the constitutional separation of powers, delineating the authority of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the U.S. government. The indictment of criminal prosecution of a sitting president would unconstitutionally undermine the capacity of the executive branch to perform its constitutionally assigned functions, the memo stated. The 1973 and 2000 memos are binding on Justice Department employees, including Mueller, according to many experts, legal experts. Mueller was appointed in May 2017 by the department's number 2 official, Rod Ronstein. But some lawyers have argued that the nation's founders could have included a provision in the Constitution shielding the president from prosecution, but did not do so, suggesting an indictment would be permissible. According to this view, immunity for the president violates the fundamental principle that nobody is above the law. Thank you so much, Courtney. So there's this fight going on that we don't even know about. Whew. And we don't even think about, because we don't understand. We thinking of a man, I'm thinking of an office. So Biden is the current president, and he has his Hunter Biden issue going on. And Trump is the former president, so he's not a sitting president, but he's running for president. So then he would become president, maybe during the trial. So this is a broad-reaching set of questions here. Donald Trump is polling far ahead of his GOP rivals. Now, this is a few weeks out now, but he was at 54%. DeSantis was at 17%. At that time, Ramaswamy was at 2%. I think he got more numbers and pulled some of that DeSantis. A dozen Republicans are campaigning to secure their party's nomination in next year's presidential election. So Trump has 54% of the current Republican support with a mugshot out. How that work? I'm just saying. I'm breaking it down. I mean, I'm trying to understand with you. A dozen Republicans are campaigning to secure their party's nomination in next year's presidential election, but the race between them is not remotely close. According to New York Times Siena College poll that was released today, Donald Trump leads his next closest challenger, Ron DeSantis, by 37 percentage points. 37. They love him some Trump. What we gonna do about it? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? You gotta turn your background down. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Lillian calling from Louisiana.
Give me your take on this. With Trump, he running for office and he got these 91 charges. Did you know it was 91 charges?
No, I did not know it was 91 charges.
What do you think about
Oh my
this?
God, they're really trying to give him the boot.
Give me your take. Go ahead. You got the floor.
Okay, well, for number one, I think that they're really doing too much. I don't think all the charges are going to stick, but I'm not sure about Georgia. I think they're going to stick.
Yeah, I don't know enough about each individual charge to say what's going to stick or not. I just know it's 91 of them, and it's interesting because I think people have a manic attachment to Trump, and you see a lot of, and I'm noticing even in the chat, not too many because I have such a strong fan base, but you see a lot of indigent blacks that have tied themselves to this conservative Trumpish kind of view with no money to protect. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not down with if we're not getting reparations. I'm not down with that at all. But I feel like if he gets locked up, he's going to have to turn to the black voters. And in that picture, he looks like I'm going to get you all when I get out of it.
Out here looking like the boogeyman. Oh man.
Yeah, like I'm ready.
Yeah,
you know what's coming.
Yeah, this is an interesting moment, and I the purpose of this show is not about per se taking a position on Trump or Biden, because Biden has the Hunter Biden issue surrounding and swirling. It's the question of constitutionality. I think people that are in the chat sometimes don't understand when you're having an educational discussion. I'm going to add little viewpoints that I have, but the main purpose is, what are these charges, and is it constitutional to put a president in prison, whether it be Biden or Trump? And if you can't get there, then I'm sorry, you just struggle. Any last thing you want to say to the audience?
No, I think you said everything.
All right. Thank you so much. Please keep listening.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for calling. I know this is a deeper show. It's kind of a harder show because we're looking at this thing and asking the question about these older white male presidents, and in particularly right now asking about Trump. When is too much enough? When is it too much? Trump's primary support, 54% of the likely voters polled, is decisive across almost every demographic group, geographic region, and ideological wing of the party. He leads by wide margin among men and women, younger and older voters, moderates and conservatives, those who went to college and those who didn't. The race is still in its early days, and no leading presidential candidate has ever faced the kind of federal and state charges that Trump currently does. But as our chief political analyst Nate Cohn wrote, no candidate in modern history has lost a primary after leading at this point by 20 percentage points. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Okay.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Detroit.
What up? Give me
A
your
couple
take on
things
it.
here. I'm about to scare some folks, but you need to hear the hard truth.
Come on.
One, if Trump is found guilty, he's not going to a regular jail or even he'll be given home confinement, something like that for, I don't know, like 5 years or 10 years. You can't put him in any prison because the information you know is too valuable and it's too valuable allowing him to have contact with somebody where he can sell information. That's one of the reasons why these presidents keep secret service for the rest of their life, because they know too much information.
Ain't it something? Wait. Hey. Pause for a second. I want you to finish. I'm so sorry because I want to get in right here. Wouldn't it be something that he have Secret Service inside the jail? So the jail got the security to keep him in the prison, and then is Secret Service in jail too? I'm just because they're gonna walk around with him and all that because they keep their Secret Service. But go ahead.
That's another thing too. What is the procedure if he is found guilty? Do they have a procedure for him? Well, I know they don't. For him to lose his secret certification. I don't think that exists. I think that nobody ever thought about that. And on top of that, who will make that decision anyway? Will it be the next president, or will it be Congress? So that's another twist thing. Like I said before, they won't put him in general population or one of those condo prisons they have. They don't talk to people about. So, but he ain't going. He's staying in his house. He's getting his mansion. My second point. I don't know if folks pay attention. Well, I'm on a website on YouTube, and I look at a lot of different stuff. And I've been on these right-winger states, and they are upset because they see themselves losing power. Trump represents the last holdouts now to maintain power. If he loses, they're going to react badly. And there are a couple of books out there right now explaining what's going to come. There's the Next Civil War by Stephen Marsh. He has a book out. And The Coming Civil War by Barbara F. Walters. She has a book out.
Okay.
And it's going to turn into an insurgency, and they're going to look to bring up the country.
Well, look. I don't want to get into like those kind of details because I don't really know enough, and we don't know enough. And I see your point about the book. I really was dealing with the constitutionality and also the structural social judgment that we've had for black males so long that we're incarcerated for decades. And how all of a sudden incarceration is just like it don't matter. He can still run for president. Carla, I'm gonna let you go because I want to keep going with the show. But thank you so much for your addition. I think that we all are just looking at this thing and trying to ask the question: what does it mean if somebody can run for president from prison? What does it mean if people actually vote for them? What does it mean that we have two men, not just Trump and Biden, with these questionable things going around them that could lead to prison charges or actually have already in Trump's case? We go back to how Trump treated the Central Park Five. Central Park Five member takes a full-page ad on Trump's 34 years after he called for their execution. For those people that don't remember, a much younger Trump put out this ad: bring back the death penalty, bring back our police, in regard to the Central Park Five. In 1989, Mr. Trump placed full-page advertisements in 4 New York City newspapers, including the New York Times, calling for the state to adopt the death penalty for killers. He made clear that he was voicing this opinion because of the rape and assault of Trisha Melly, a woman who'd been jogging in the Central Park case. He didn't even know what he was talking about. He put these out, and we judge. We have the reality of incarceration, particularly black male incarceration, but incarceration in America. When you look at young black men, we have the highest incarceration rate in the history of the world by far. I think the closest second would be like South Africa during apartheid at 800 per 100,000. We got up to like 9,000 per 100,000. Black males, young black males, I should say. I'm sorry. Black males were at like 5,000 per 100,000. So the next closest is during actual apartheid. For the black males, it was like 800 per 100,000. And no one really wanted to see this thing for what it was, the beast that it was, this incarceration. I wrote about it in the Griot almost 10 years ago now, 8 to 10 years ago. I did this chart so you can actually see it, because everybody thought it was just black people. It wasn't just black people. It was young black men. And while these men went to prison, Trump partied. Not only did he party, he weaponized their incarceration and the view of them as menaces to create more brand value, and hip hop elevated him. Can we talk about all the hip hop artists that used him in songs? Well, now he the one on the cover. And when he on the cover, shout out to the Central Park Five, they putting him on blast. I want to talk today. Jamal said it's definitely a great question. Maybe some men are immune to law, and Donald Trump is just the highest profile example. Please support the channel again. We're having a discussion, a heavier discussion this week than we normally have, because it's time to talk a little politics. Somebody's in deep, deep trouble. This is the same Donald Trump that was wrestling. Yeah, that's him, wrestling. Y'all elected a wrestler as president. He body slamming people. See, a lot of people didn't know all the components of Trump when they saw him as president. A representation, in my view, of the demise of the breakdown of America. Here's how Donald Trump could theoretically run for president in 2024 from prison and govern the U.S. behind bars, according to 9 legal scholars. This is what we're talking about. Picture this. It's 9 p.m. on January 13, 2026, a Tuesday. And you tune into your favorite cable news network to watch the president's State of the Union address. But this year, the president doesn't take the bulletproof limo from the White House to the U.S. Capitol. Gone are the hundreds of members of Congress traditionally in attendance. Instead, the commander-in-chief is wearing an orange jumpsuit. His message streamed to lawmakers and into your living room via Zoom from his prison cell. Huh. Yeah, this is a scenario. It's far-fetched, but it's a scenario. Again, we'll say it again. He's running out front with the Republican nomination with 91 charges. The Constitution requires only that presidential candidates are natural-born U.S. citizens who are at least 35 years old and have been U.S. residents for at least 14 years. And practically anyone, even fictional characters, can take the first step toward the White House by filing organizational paperwork with the Federal Election Commission. We have Cornel West running right now. Shout out to ADOS. They down there in Mississippi right now as we speak, supporting Cornel West at a ADOS co-sponsored event in Mississippi, and Yvette Cornell is there. If he happens to be in prison at the time of the next presidential election, the fact that he's in prison will not prevent him from running, said Michael Gerhardt, a constitutional professor at the University of North Carolina School of Law. This is what I'm doing on this show. I'm talking to you about how somebody could be in prison and also run for president. How they could be in prison and be president, possibly. And for months, the U.S. House January 6th Select Committee has built a decidedly public case that Trump was intimately involved in the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol and did nothing for hours to stop it. The committee has ordered Trump to testify, and Trump is fighting back. If Trump landed in prison, nothing in the Constitution would block him from continuing the White House run, according to the 9 legal experts interviewed by Insider. But say voters decided to elect and imprison Trump anyway. From prison, Trump would be subject to the same rules as other prisoners, which could restrict their communications and ability to appear at events, said Barbara McQuaid, a law professor at University of Michigan. So is this a testament to the power that we put into white maleness? You can be a white male and do all these crimes allegedly. You ain't got to clear none of it up. Even if it's cleared up, we still got questions. And you can run for office and win. He would need to rely on proxies to campaign for him. Then after the chaos-inducing unknowns, would Trump use his powers to make his life cushier? Would he attempt to pardon himself? How would he defend himself if he faced, say, a third impeachment? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? Give me your take on it.
First and foremost, I just want to give you thanks and props for breaking this information down like no one has. I, for one, did not know that, his charges broke out into these 4 different groupings. I think it's been presented in a way where it's easily identified to, the ADOS community. Also, you asked the question, like, what does it mean? I think it means that, people with power, people with access, people with influence that have this wealth generationally, they've always been able to use it to get away with it. Biden recently had a similar, incident with secure files that I'm surprised hasn't got more attention. But what does it mean? It means that you get away with anything. And if he becomes president, we would have presidents that have owned slaves to actually have prison records.
So what do you think about the fact that Trump can run for president from behind bars, if that were to happen, and he could be president possibly from behind bars? Isn't that crazy? Does it point to a flaw in our Constitution?
It is crazy. It is crazy. And it's that a lot of our population who would actually put someone like that in charge at the most powerful seat in the world. What does that say about our people as a whole? And then what does it say about us as a community and not calling those people out and holding them accountable for their decisions and who they are as our federal country?
Somebody actually made a great point. Seems like he would lose his security clearance. Yeah, you have a felony, multiple felonies, and felonies that actually go to the heart of why we have security clearances, because they are questions about. You got to understand what it takes for white folks to vote for Trump. He didn't have a charge of what would I say? His neighbor is accusing him of assault. No, these are charges of whether he's loyal to America, and the white folks still voting for him.
Yeah, and it's definitely a security threat. Having charges. The biggest issue with security. I do work for the government, so one thing is you have to disclose all of your financials. You have to disclose ties to any country, and that's so that other countries don't have leverage over you in places or of areas of importance with information. To have a president that has a felony charge over them and have 54% of the population on one side elect this person into power says a lot about our country. And I don't think it's a very good image. I don't think it's very healthy. And it basically exposes the core of rock that we have as a society. And I want to thank you for what you've done and the information that you shared.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult, man, to do this. Thank you so much. Because people be having these manic viewpoints sometimes that don't make no sense and don't have no anchoring, and I can't do it. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Antonio calling from Milwaukee.
What's your take on it, Antonio?
Listen, thank you for what you're doing, man. I apologize for that talking you had to speak to the Trump situation. I don't know how you equate fighting to expand democracy with fighting to take democracy. I don't know how you put them aside.
Come on.
I don't. That just got me crazy. But if you notice, the Trump supporters are not really readers, and I'm ashamed of all the blacks who have not read a simple 45-page document about our voting rights, much as our people had to go through to get their voting rights. This just shows how much we're not paying attention to other people can't read 9 pages about your democracy, your voting rights. I'm saying, like, that is the most scariest part about the whole situation, is that we can't read a simple document with all of the internet about something that's going to take away our right to vote.
Man, I don't have a, I'm gonna be honest. This is one of those shows where, as long as you ain't saying something out of the pocket, it's just it's your moment, and I'm just listening with you, because we all figuring this out, because it makes no sense that my whole life I was told not to go to prison because of mass incarceration, and now this man is running for office while he got 91 charges against him, and everybody just okay with it.
We have to understand that the prison system was meant to prosecute black people. We have to understand that it was meant to prosecute us. The intention was to economically castrate your community. That's what you be talking about reparations. They act as if the practice of slavery ended in 1865. They act as if American government has not continuously done policies that economically harm the black community. They act as if there was never a federal housing authority that was created that created homes for them, that gave them rights and deprived us of the same thing. They act as if they had illegalized and locked our children up for selling weed, and now they legalize weed and giving mostly white people to dispensaries. We have to understand that they created a system to re-enslave us through that incarceration. And we have to wake up. That is why we're in our condition. But we don't want to pay attention to the politics. We think that it's business, and it's 90% politics and only 10% business.
That's when they pay you for an almond you don't grow. That's when they pay you to make sure that your wheat don't come up. That's when they pay you for your soil being bad. Come on. That's when they give you a contract.
And the black farmers got a suit to get their payment.
Come on, Colin. Come on.
See, you gotta understand, you done took in Milwaukee, you done took Travis Ed out of school about 10, 15 years ago. Then you give you a gig economy where they gotta make money driving. Everything you do, your ticket is to spend your driver's license, and that's what they got you working off of.
Man, Colin, look, I'm gonna let you go because I gotta keep going on the show. But every time you call in, I get a little more information. Let me ask you one other question. No, one more question for you. As I recall, and you don't have to answer this if you don't feel comfortable. You were incarcerated, correct?
Correct. 13.5 years.
What would it be like to share a jail cell with the president? I know it's not funny, but just tell me like how crazy that would be for the president to be in the prison.
I'll be honest with you. I read his book in prison, right? Yeah. And when I first read his book, I said, this dude don't understand return on investment. And I understood white privilege from reading his first book. I watched it in the book. When you read the book, he tells you how he took the money to build Trump Tower and bought Mar-a-Lago with the loan from that money.
Did you hear about the new thing with Eric Trump? He sold I think it's Mar-a-Lago. He sold one of them big buildings in Florida that was only worth $10 million to his son. This is yesterday. It came out for $420 million. They're trying to figure out what kind of scheme they was running. This is like yesterday or 2 days ago. Go ahead. It's 10 and then 420.
The point is, they can do anything with black people because we're not going to educate ourselves, and we're not going to follow somebody more in our best interest. That's like my page started unapologetically black. I started watching your page, and I added the ADOS. Because what you said, when you broke down the point of identifying us, the only Republican concept that they have that we're supposed to support is that's to shut down the integration. If we pay attention to anything, that's the only policy, is the integration policy, is what we're supposed to be talking about. us, but if we pay attention to what we're doing and pay attention to our bosses, we would know that. We would know how they weaponize integration against us. But we empower the weaponization of integration, you know what I'm saying, against us as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if I share your videos all the time, I'm gonna start breaking your videos down and redoing them on my page because brothers need to hear what you're saying and need to get the message out that you deliver. But I appreciate you.
Yeah, I do too. I appreciate you, bro. So we just having this discussion. We all here learning, and I have this article, and it says, "Here's how Donald Trump could theoretically run for president in 24 from prison and govern the U.S. behind bars, according to 9 legal experts." You can go find the article yourself. That man said this to 91 charges. Get on out of here. So I'm gonna continue. I read the first part. This is just parts of the article, but I want to read a little more of it. These are the 9 legal experts speaking. State legislators, particularly in Democratic-led states, could attempt to pass laws that would make it more difficult for Trump to qualify. As of February 2018, states had introduced bills that looked at requiring presidential candidates to disclose income tax returns to be placed on the general election ballot, according to the National Conference of State Legislators. Those bills gave Democrats plenty of headlines, but didn't go far. During the 2020 election, efforts continue. The Illinois Senate, for example, voted to compel Trump to release 5 years of his personal income tax returns. He has famously refused to publicly release them or be barred from appearing on the state's, ballot box. Ballot access measures almost always create legal fights. That's because the U.S. Constitution establishes the requirements to run for president, and changing or adding to those requirements would almost certainly require ratification of the constitutional amendment, a feat that hasn't been achieved in nearly 30 years. And any presidential candidate who meets the constitutional requirements, then submits the number of qualified voter signatures required by each state, should be eligible to appear on the ballot. It's much easier for states to restrict ballot access for state-level candidates, such as former Governor Blagojevich of Illinois, a Trump buddy who was famously pardoned by Trump in February 2020. He served 8 years in federal prison after being convicted on public corruption charges. But Blagojevich is barred from holding any political or state office, but federal office is still fair game. Nuclear football in adjacent sale. This was kind of what I was speaking to earlier with the man that called earlier. In the Oval Office, Trump conducted business at the ornate, resolute desk. From prison, he likely has little more than a metal table. But Trump could probably do a lot of the chief executive's job from a prison cell, with some accommodations according to legal scholars. First, he could take the oath of office there, in a prison. In a prison. As nothing within the Constitution requires the president to be at a particular location, says Lawrence Tribe, a constitutional law professor at Harvard. Do we see this thing? Does everybody understand what we're facing? You see somebody sworn in for president in the prison cell, you better go and get ready. Things is breaking down. President Lyndon Johnson took his oath, and again, I like to go back to the top when I come to it. I'm reading the article. Here's how Donald Trump could theoretically run for president in 2024 from prison and govern the U.S. behind bars, according to 9 legal scholars. I'm not asking what people's opinions are. I'm not asking you to give me your fantasy. I'm just giving you what the experts are saying. Yeah, he doing Zoom presidency. He doing a Zoom presidency. He already modified the press conference to Twitter. He doing a Zoom presidency. We got a lot to talk about. President Lyndon B. Johnson took his oath aboard Air Force One in 1963 after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy. After taking the oath, Trump could theoretically do from a prison cell many of the things presidents normally do from the Oval Office, Tribe said. He could issue pardons, veto bills, issue executive orders. Tribe is the legal expert from Harvard, I believe. Issue executive orders, sign legislation, and make political appointments. Some presidents have described the White House as a prison. But the Constitution doesn't specify that that's the only prison you could occupy in order to serve as president. So it's possible that Trump could deliver the address via Zoom while wearing orange prison guard. Woo-wee. I would like to thank you guys for voting for me, electing me president at 81 years old, because you ain't got no self-respect. Can we talk about it? Let's keep going. Another logistical question would happen to the nuclear. What would happen to the nuclear football? A briefcase that's supposed to stay near the president and holds the codes needed to launch a nuclear attack, Tribe said. Would the military aide who carries the briefcase be in an adjacent cell? I asked that earlier about Secret Service. Please support the channel. We're having a discussion nobody else is having about Trump running for president and also becoming president possibly from prison, and how we just ignoring it all. I need y'all to see it. Don't nobody want to talk about it? Being the president comes with some powers that could help Trump improve his situation, Scholar said, but that depends a lot on where he winds up. If he wound up in a federal prison, he likely have more sway over his fate. He could attempt to issue a presidential self-pardon. I want to write pardon. I want to pardon somebody. Who's going to pardon Trump? No, well, I'm pardoning Donald Trump. I'm a pardon Donald Trump. So he writing the pardon and he in prison. But that's never been tested, and it's legally murky whether that could hold up in court. Trump could theoretically hand over power to his vice president. Come on. For an extended period of time, if he wanted to declare himself unable to serve as commander-in-chief. That vice president could be his son or whoever else happens to be. That's that nepotism. Alternatively, the 25th Amendment includes a mechanism for the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit for office. He would be removed only if 2/3 of the vote of both chambers of Congress voted to do so. It's a steep hurdle, and legal experts said it was extremely unlikely that Trump's vice president and cabinet would agree to boot him from office, even if, let me add, even if he was in prison. Do we understand what we're seeing? They are failing up. We are succeeding down and doing it quiet as can be. Support the channel. We having a spirited discussion, asking the questions that need to be asked. With all the news that came out yesterday, breaking it down, can we talk? Trump's case has broad implications for American democracy. The third indictment of the former president is the first to get to the heart of the matter. Can a sitting leader of the country spread lies to hold on to power even after voters reject him? I'm not going to read this whole article. You can go read it on your own. But what we have is a situation here. And that situation requires each of you to sit down, rewatch this show, understand what this man is charged with, understand what it means that he's being charged with it, and whether you're going to support him from prison, let alone support him at all with the bad policies he had, in my view. What does it mean for your own self-respect if you're willing to vote for somebody for president that's in prison? What does it mean about your chance of success if you're willing to vote for an old man in an orange jumpsuit that ain't never been right for president? I just wanted to come talk to you today. Please go to tonetalks.net, subscribe, donate, share. I thank you for your time. But what happens if Donald Trump wins the presidency and after trial, because he's going to go to trial, he ain't pleading, gets found guilty and gets sent to prison at the same time? Well, it's more than possible based on the legal experts. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.net again and subscribe, donate, and share. I'm out.